Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Chase Von Ock, founder of Invest Intelligently. And he's going to be sharing all about his business journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. So, if this is your first time to our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Chase, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, I can't help but to notice that you just kind of snickered when I said what it's like to own and operate a business. So,
Yeah,
tell me about that.
I was thinking, good luck, folks.
I get it. Tell me, let's dive in right there. Tell me what has been why you say that.
Well, when I was young, I probably got into business like a lot of people for naive, reasons. Um, you'd think, oh, I can make my own hours, or oh, I can have all this freedom and so forth, and you certainly can.
Mhm.
Well, when you first start in business, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And, you know, first couple years is probably the hardest because it seems, when looking back on it, and the first businesses that I started, it seems like every other day there was some kind of catastrophic failure. And you don't really know how to regulate the importance of things. Like you don't know what's really dangerous or what's not, or what is actually going to hurt your business or what's not, or if you've never set up a merchant account, or just going through those growing pains.
Mhm.
uh I would suggest that people don't really like, if you're if you want to start a business just so you can, be rich, but you are still showing up late to your current job,
Mhm.
you're not the right candidate. I used to tell everybody to start a business,
Mhm.
but now I think it's really, starting businesses, if you're going to take it seriously, it's really for a select few, because it's not really set up for success. It's,
Mhm.
you know, um, I wish, I wish, I wish that government, and I wish that, um, I wish it was, I wish they taught more entrepreneurship and business owner type skills in school,
Mhm. I agree.
so that people understand the reality of it.
Mm.
But we're not really taught a lot about business in school,
Mhm.
and we're not really taught about accounting, money management, or taxes in school. And that's such a frustrating concept for me, because kids really absorb information really well.
Yeah,
If
that's
this
very true.
if this were started like on a fourth grade level,
Mm.
I think we would have a much brighter future.
I totally agree with you and have said that over and over because as someone myself, and I see my kids struggle with finances and bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Um, it's the practical things of life that I feel like we don't get in school. And entrepreneurship is the backbone of everything we do. And so
Yeah.
it's so important to have those skills. I want to back up a little bit. because we just dove right in and I love it because I think that's so valuable what you said. It's
I
not
don't
for
waste I
everybody.
don't waste too much time these days.
I like that a lot. Let's share with the audience, or can you share with our audience a little bit of your background and what Invest Intelligently is?
Yeah, so I have a strong background in sales. I've been selling stuff since I was a child.
Mm,
Um, I don't come from a family that had a lot of money,
mhm.
so I started working, when I was very young, and I was fascinated with finding value even when I was one or two, or I think 2 years old.
Wow.
Um, it started off with me finding a drummer quarter and learning that a drummer quarter has more value than 25 cents because it is more rare than other coins.
Wow.
So I could barely talk
I
when,
was about to say, at 2 years old, you understood that concept.
yeah.
Wow. Genius. I'm going to say that you were probably having your genius level is probably way higher than most if you knew that at two.
Yeah,
So then what happened?
two or 3 years old, I learned about that and started cultivating this concept for me, which is that you can find value in things if
Mhm.
you look hard enough and if you do due diligence, you can find that there's value in things beyond their face value.
Mm,
The human mind is very perception oriented. And a lot of times the face value of things gives us a perception, right? But like a gold coin today from the US Mint says $50 on it, but it's, an ounce of gold a troy ounce of gold is now, close to $3,000 an ounce. So there's a lot of value that can be found in things, including businesses, that you can't see easily.
mhm.
And and I started thinking about that concept when I was, 2 or 3 years old when I found this drum recorder, and that sculpted my entire life.
Wow.
And I have a nearly flawless memory. So my working spatial memory is in the top 1%. So I remember facts and details and faces and numbers extremely well.
Wow.
I have a large background in sales. When I was 12 years old, I was learning about robotics and computers.
Mm,
And my idea was to create a robotic machine that's bought and sold stocks. And my stepmom told me that the stock market was inherently evil because it was basically controlled by a select few,
mm,
puppet master people. And basically, if you made any money in the stock market, that it was essentially criminal because you were receiving value without presenting any value yourself, which is inherently false. But I didn't realize that until later.
mm.
But yeah, the concept of II or invest intelligently is a fully autonomous trading system that will dominate all financial markets globally, that will trade in a sort of weaponized environment between all markets, that being currency, commodities, stocks, bonds, all digitally transacted markets. We're in development of a system that will exceed the capabilities of a human being by a enormous margin. I would say an unfathomable margin.
Wow. So I'm amazed by everything you just said from your top 1% of memory. That's very rare, obviously, 1%.
Mm.
And then being able to use that in such a way to find a company that's going to help so many people. Why is that important to you?
Uh, well, just seemed like no brainer for me. I love AI.
Mm-hmm.
I love neural networks. I I mean, the human brain is a neural network. When you create a digital neural network that has purpose, um, there are no limits because your limits are your processing power,
Mm-hmm.
but that can be infinite if you want it to be. And since our software only operates with numbers,
Mm-hmm.
it's much easier. It's very advantageous to build a software that only looks at numeric patterns versus an AI that must like Tesla's AI is very difficult and complex to
Mm-hmm.
because the sonar or the lidar or whatever they're using and the cameras and everything else, the imaging system, all of that data has to be processed in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you have all of these different values that it has to process: depth, distance, movement, size, like all the stuff, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to develop an AI that can replicate a human being and it has a camera, then it has to process all of the data from a camera in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Like the human being processes terabytes of data, but it's in all these different formats.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we don't have robots today that are identical to human beings yet, because just processing touch would be a feat of miraculous magnitude on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Touch, sight, sound, taste. Uh, that is gonna be an enormous amount of data. But digital files that are just numbers are much
Mm-hmm.
easier to process. So our system will be able to process data on a millisecond level in all global markets and weaponize itself to find value in between those markets. So
Wow.
if you have a stock, which is a company in Iceland,
Mm-hmm.
a human being can process only multiple different layers of complexity. And then after a certain amount of layers of complexity, a human being cannot possibly comprehend anything beyond that. And
Mm-hmm.
like the smartest or best human being in the world at processing complexity can only do X amount. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so a good example of this is, let's say you have a stock in Iceland, and when the quarterly report of that stock comes out, if that stock has done really well because it's selling products directly to a different company
Mm-hmm.
in the United States, that quarterly report goes up, this quarterly report goes up. Let's call that one layer.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings can understand one layer easily.
Right.
And then you get into two layers. That stock goes up, that stock goes up. This other stock in Sweden, for some reason, goes down every time. Well, turns out because demand lowers or whatever it is. Well, let's call that two layers. And every time you add a layer, you add the amount different, structures of data. this does that, 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 this. Human being can only do this so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, AI can do it infinitely.
Mm.
AI can also can weaponize itself to um, you know, create value or find value by a series of trades. So let's say, okay, the AI decides it wants to buy a specific value in a specific company. That stock price always goes down when X happens. AI does a series of trades which influences this stock to go down. And it buys that stock and then reverses these trades and that stock goes up. It's captured that value. That's called weaponization.
Mm-hmm.
Day traders do this on a first, second, and third layer level all the time. Well, our software will be able to do this 60,000 layers deep
Wow.
in an unfathomable amount of time. Me making tens of millions of trades per hour, tens of thousands of trades per minute, and thousands or tens of thousands of trades every second. It has that capability because
Wow.
it's not confined by, the confines of a human brain. It's much, much, much more powerful and capable than any human at processing data and finding patterns and patternistic recognition. And then also it can do this interdimensionally between all markets. So you know, stocks is our first market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then you also have currencies, and then you also have commodities. Stock markets, there are, I think, 28 or 29 functional markets in the world. You've got the London Stock Exchange, you've got the Icelandic Stock Exchange, you've got the New York Stock Exchange. Soon we'll have a stock exchange in Texas. You've got the one in Denmark, in London, and yeah, so in Beijing and okay. Well, if you can influence a market overseas, that has a lot of influence on a market in other markets. So imagine a super digitally intelligent system that can navigate through all markets seamlessly, instantaneously, and unfathomably faster and more accurate than a human being.
Wow. Now, you're the founder. Is this an AI that you have developed
Yeah,
yourself?
myself and my team.
That's incredible.
I created a very basic prototype of this and outline our team on the basic structure of our software. And
Hmm.
we just continue to work on it and add to it and make it a little bit better here and a little bit better there. And
Yeah.
now we have a functional model which works solely in the US stock market.
So
Um,
this is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the first product that we've released is basically a functional model that works in the US based stock market, which is, I would say, better than the most efficient human being in stock trading.
Well, congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you.
I know this took many years, I'm sure, to develop. Can,
Not really.
oh, that's incredible.
I think what takes longer is all of the logistics of the whole picture. Like
Mm.
building a board of directors, okay, setting
Yes.
up legal structure, okay, and then life happens, and then you owe your attorney $70,000 to write your corporate agreements, which are 200 pages thick because you're a hedge fund and you're trading trading in different states, and you have to figure out taxes, and so we have to appoint a Deloitte executive to solve taxes, not only for ourselves but our clients. Solving problems like if a client comes to us and they don't want to pay 40% of their earned income, you know, what do you do? Well, turns out we can create something called a parallel investment fund and put their investments in Singapore. And then there's a whole
Mhm.
bunch of stuff you have to do. And then now instead of paying 37% on capital gains tax, you're going to pay it comes out to a lot less, or we put them in Grand Cayman Island or whatever it is. There's a lot of complexities to that, and not only learning that, but then implementing systems and software within your business to give your clients those products is very difficult. So it
Mhm.
does take years, but actually creating our application and our software didn't really take years. And our software is still in its infancy, but we're already outperforming the vast majority of hedge funds and mutual funds and money market accounts. I mean, we we also have portfolios in simulation that had we used real money in those portfolios, they would be up 900% in
Mhm.
a year. So another thing that has been very difficult is just getting new clients because a lot of like investors, especially old school investors,
Mhm.
they've only ever heard of products, that give them like Vanguard, one of the most successful funds of all time. You know,
Mhm.
you're lucky if you get like on really good years, 16, 17, 18%. And they've had years where they hit 22%. I
Mhm.
mean, stuff like that. But that's a lucky year. Yeah, if you look
Yeah.
at them on the whole, 12%, 14%, it's much more reasonable. So if you show a client this portfolio and say, look, this thing made 94% in 1 year, or
Mhm.
much less, 900%.
Wow.
Generally speaking, they just don't believe you. So
Mm.
getting new clients is probably the hardest part.
Mhm.
But now I think that, we're getting into the very peak of a market.
Mm.
So, anyways, we're
How my
we'll
I
be
can
we'll be we'll be at a point soon where it doesn't matter if we get new clients or not because our software is so good that it's just going to make us because we're taking profits that we get from managing our clients' money and then putting
Mhm.
them into our own portfolios.
Mm.
Well, there will be a point where it literally doesn't matter if we get new clients or not because we're doing so well in our own portfolios. We don't need any other outside investment.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
There's a couple of just logistical questions that are running through my mind. Like,
sure.
not only when did you start, but how many clients do you have now? Did you start off with investors or was this self-funded? How did that look?
So I funded 100% of starting the business.
Mm-hmm.
I paid all of our legal fees. I negotiated with all of our board of directors, our entire board, equity in the business in exchange for them help us getting started and helping develop our technology. And we've built an incredible team now. We have a fantastic team that are working extremely well together. We're very, very optimistic for the future, no
How many
doubt.
team members do you have?
Um, five.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we have a few people who are sort of extended
Hmm.
in the business, but if you include like our entire legal team, then I'm not, I think we would be eight.
Yeah. Where do you see the company in say 3 to 5 years? You mentioned how you might not need new clients, maybe because of how you're managing the portfolio.
Hmm.
But where do you see the company in 3 to 5 years?
Um, I think it's reasonable to say that we'll have $100 billion valuation in 3 to 5 years.
Why are you so confident in that?
Well, I think we're gonna have a very large market crash.
Mm.
I think we're gonna have a very large correction. We've printed 80% of the money supply in the last 4 years.
Excuse me.
That has to be inflationary. We have the BRICS nations creating a new currency that they're going to trade off of the dollar. They're not going to use the dollar to trade anymore.
Mm.
Um, we have multiple world wars. The new administration is fond of tariffs, so probably on the whole, that will cause corrective cycle. And then we're just straight up overdue for a corrective cycle.
Mm.
So we're gonna have a correction. I can't say exactly. Oh, and then there's the $36 trillion of debt. Um, I think a lot of people took for granted like a fiat currency. I think people thought that the United States was going to be the all powerful forever.
Mm.
So fiat currency worked okay, but we just spent and borrowed too much money since 2001. Um, just to give you some context, I think that the national deficit was a few trillion dollars in 2001.
Mm.
So for 225 years, for 225 years, we spent a few trillion dollars. Then, now we have close to $40 trillion. So I always wondered, like, how come we only needed this much for 225 years to build everything in the United States?
Mm.
Just think of the big picture.
Yeah.
But then in 24 years, we needed, um,
Yeah.
let's say 1,000% of that. Well,
Mind-boggling.
well, we didn't repave every single road. We didn't rebuild every single school. We didn't 10x the salaries of every single teacher. We didn't, build 500 nuclear power plants that power the entire United States for free. We didn't, we didn't, you know what I mean? Like, how
Yeah.
how is it even possible that we spent this much money? Because my road still has cracks in it. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's your road. My
Yeah.
road
Good point.
hasn't been repaved,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
No, you're exactly
I don't
right.
have any idea where all the money went,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that the amount of money that we have spent on who knows what is absurd.
Hmm.
Well, that has to be inflationary. And I think that when people really like, you've already seen a huge movement into cryptocurrencies because I think the driving factor there is that people don't trust central banks and people don't trust central currencies and people don't trust fiat currencies. A fiat currency is not really backed by anything inherently valuable other than, like with the United States, I guess, backed by military supremacy and um
Yeah.
and then just agreement or trust. But cryptocurrency's value is basically, I would say, electricity and processing power captured as a value.
Hmm.
But then, tangible assets like gold, and land and things of that nature actually have value.
Mm-hmm.
So if the BRICS nations, which have been quietly buying up the world's gold reserves, say that the BRIC, their new currency, is backed by gold and is on a gold standard, I think that's going to absolutely destroy the dollar.
Wow.
There's so many things on our horizon that
Mm-hmm.
I see can contribute to a catastrophic, financial failure. And my software works best when the market is low.
Mm.
So our software has been doing very well now. In fact, outperforming almost all other money management groups still in a safe way.
Mm. In a safe way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. It's
Yeah.
conservative, but you also have incredible gains.
Yeah.
Like getting people to believe that is a different story. I mean, I can
Yeah.
literally show you with a paper, these are the trades that it made, but still it looks like people don't connect the dots.
Yeah.
They have to trust you. The business is very reputation based, and we're at the very beginning stages. So now, um, my software works incredibly well when a lot of stocks and businesses are offered at a discounted rate. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, the market is very overvalued. You have a lot of stocks that are trading far beyond their, profit and earnings ratios. Like there's businesses that I see where I can't figure out why anyone would pay that much for that business because they're not producing that much. They're not very profitable. They have loads of debt. They're not really earning that much per share. And then mathematically the numbers don't support commanding a stock price and they don't offer dividends. So I don't know where these valuations are coming from or why people are buying those stocks for that price, but I can tell you our software has found an enormous amount of stocks that are tremendously overvalued. There's still value to be found, um, for sure. Uh,
I feel like this that you've created
yeah,
and the wisdom that you share with our audience is something that we have just scratched the surface on. And there's so much information. Can you share with everyone how they can, before we get into our rapid fire questions, just go ahead and share with everyone how they can find you or maybe who your clientele is?
sure. You
They want
can,
to hire you for that, is what I mean by that.
yeah, I would say just call me. My phone number is 737-333-1677. Um,
And then your website, how do they follow you?
uh, just follow me on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to put that in the show notes because I feel like you're offering something that a lot of our listeners would find very valuable and need. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, at this time, we're only working with accredited investors, people who are making on average more than 200,000 dollars in, I think it's $200,000 in household income or above.
Yeah.
Um, our clients should be educated and understand that investing in, stocks has inherent risk. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, if you want to,
Yeah.
if you want AI to manage money for you, definitely give me a call.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Very much where we all should be going for sure. And AI's is the future. And so thank you
Well,
for,
it's refreshing that you think so.
I do. I do. I'm not afraid of it. I'm
Yeah,
not afraid
yeah,
of it.
because you have a lot of people asking you, Chase, is what you're doing moral?
Is it what?
Is it moral?
Oh, moral.
Yeah.
But you still have to have people managing it. So that's what makes it moral.
I don't think you do.
Oh, oh, that might have to be part two.
I think that's the dangerous part.
Oh, could be. I like that
You,
point of view.
AI doesn't have any emotion, so
Yeah, that's true.
my software doesn't have emotion, so it just does what
Yeah,
where it finds the value on its own.
that's
And
so good.
it doesn't need any opinion or anything like that. And it works very well.
I love that.
It's the one that when we get involved and do something different because of XYZ, that's when we've had trouble. So
Yeah, it's true. Well, are you ready for a couple of rapid fire questions?
absolutely.
All right, book or podcast? So, what are you reading or listening to right now?
Oh, I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, the one I'm listening to right now is called Discipline Equals Freedom.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And I just listen to it on my way to the gym every morning. I wake up incredibly early. I wake up at like 4 a.m.
Wow.
And
Well,
then
you're certainly disciplined.
yeah. So I wake up very, very, very early and then I go to the gym and my gym's kind of a ways away from my house.
Mm,
That's my podcast time. Or that's my audiobook time. That's when
yeah.
I'm listening to Discipline Equals Freedom. And
Mm,
I don't really need to listen to a lot of like more or extra information. There's so many things that I've found valuable that I think will be more valuable for me just to listen to it again.
mm,
So I think I've listened to Discipline Equals Freedom like 3 or 4 times over now.
I love that.
Sometimes I'll just start it over again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go look that one up
Because
for sure.
because I'm trying to solidify in my mind and create these habits, right?
Hmm.
Which I know are successful. Like some of the wealthiest people that I've met, it's not because they've read 100 or 200 books and applied all these things. It's because the things that they have found to be successful actions for their business and their finances or whatever they're trying to accomplish, they continue to do those things. And that has nothing to do with like book intelligence.
Yeah, it's true. All right, this
So
is a, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I encourage, people to think about that. I
Yeah.
think there's an overload of information these days.
Mm, true. I would agree. All right, this is one of my favorites. It's the last question of the day, and I love it. What is most inspiring you today?
Hmm. What's most inspiring to me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really like carbon neutral energy.
Mm,
Um, I really like the idea of moving all of humanity off of carbon heavy energy.
mm,
So my idea is to capture a large amount of value from the global marketplace, then work on energy. And so I would like if we don't destroy all of the world's coral reefs. I would like if we don't have so much plastic in the ocean.
hmm.
I would like if, as a whole, uh, humans can work towards a sustainable future where we don't have to be worried about our children or our grandchildren
Mm,
not having the same resources we do or having none of those resources. It's also really unfair that like we're irresponsibly changing the environment of the ocean so much that we find whales dying because they've consumed too much
yeah.
plastic because there's so much plastic in the ocean that just when they're eating fish, they eat plastic. and then they die. That sort of thing. I'm hopeful that we can move towards wind, solar, and geothermal and nuclear power, and away from just burning coal or fossil fuels to, turn up turbine. It's so silly. Um, we have the technology to do that. I'm optimistic that if I can, I'm optimistic that I can influence the global carbon footprint by uh, transitioning power grids onto sustainable forms of energy.
Wow. That is incredible. To say that that's what most inspires you is really convicting for sure for me, and I'm sure a lot of us. So thank you for just bringing this conversation to the forefront and for what you do, Chase. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited about following you and seeing where it all goes for sure.
Thank you.
And I just want to encourage everyone that's listening today to save this show, but because Chase really had some great just wisdom and nuggets and really was inspiring of how passionate he is about his business. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a show just like this one. Thanks for everyone for joining us. And Chase, a special thank you to you. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.